Hey everybody, one of the questions I get asked a lot is how do I mount a scope on my modern sporting rifle or my competition gun? And what you want to realize, your scope position might not be the same as a hunting gun. You're going to use this in a lot more extreme positions. So what I would recommend you do is to go out and actually put the mount on and put a scope and go out into the field and take different positions, prone, around walls, and find exactly where you want to set that optic. I've shot enough to know where I want my eyepiece in relationship to the charge handle. So I'm going to make my setup according to what I've learned in the past that fits my shooting style. So with that in mind, give you some ideas on what tooling you might need to do it properly. And this is something you want to think about also is how can I mount it properly? And what that means is the right torch setting and leveling of the scope to the base of the rifle. So what I have here is just a universal cleaning vise. It works out pretty good for this application. I have a level. You're going to need a level. You're going to need something to hold your rifle while you work on it. And what I strongly recommend is a torque wrench, guys. All the years previous to me having this tool, it was a guessing procedure on the proper torque. And one thing I realized when I went to Vortex at the factory through their warranty center was how many scopes are damaged by over-torquing the scope with the rings and the mounts. So it's not an 18-wheeler tire, guys. You just a few inch-pounds, 18 exactly on the rings and 40 on the mount itself, on this mount. So give you an idea, it's not a lot of torque. It'll hold that scope. You're not going to damage anything, and it's repeatable. And that's something as a competitor, everything I do has to be repeated, and I want my equipment to repeat, and this is going to be the way to do it. So, okay, guys, give you an idea. What I have here today is a couple of the Vortex Strike Eagle scopes, a 1x6 and a 1x8. This is their new generation scopes. They have a different reticle. They have a quick change knob here built into the eyepiece. It has a lit reticle, a BDC reticle. It has a bullet drop compensator. And what's really trick about these scopes, you have about 116-foot field of view on both of them at 100 yards. So they're very flexible in the application, and with the shift knob, you can go through magnification ranges and tailor the magnification to exactly what you need in just a fraction of a second. So, okay, we got a scope base here. We have one of their cantilever mounts. It's a very precision-made scope base. So we're going to start off by starting to level the scope and the vise. I think I've done that, but I'm going to check it again to make sure. And we're right in between the hash marks there. I'm going to check the hand guard too, in case when I get the scope there, I lose relationship and I can't get the level back on the receiver, and I've got to read there. So I know I'm perfectly good here. And what we're going to do is take the scope base next. And I'm kind of old school on my assembly and disassembly technique. What I have here, I've taken the rings loose, and I have the scope base facing in the orientation that's going to be on the rifle. So I've taken the front ring off and set it on the side and the rear and on the side. So I know when I put the scope base on the rifle, I can put the rear and the front in the front. That's kind of old school technology, and I like to keep it simple, KISS method. All right, we got the base on the rifle. What you want to realize is when this rifle recoils, the scope is want to go forward, and there's a little bit of play, as in all scope mounts. So you want to load the scope mount to the forward position here. You can hear it click. So just really easy to do, guys. Just kind of torque it to the front with a little pressure. Take your torque wrench with the right tip, and I'm just going to snug this down just a little bit to where it's cinching up on the Picatinny rail, but I'm not going to do the final torque until I have the scope in place. So just going to go ahead and go crosshatch pattern on the screws. I've got the wrench set at 18 foot-pounds is what I'm going to use for the rings on the top. And 18 is all you need, guys. It's the recommended torque setting. Anything more than that, you're damaging the scope and the scope base. So 18 inch-pounds on the base just to start with. And I'm going to mount that 1x8 Vortex Strike Eagle. I haven't used one of the new ones yet, so I'm kind of excited to play with it. I'm going to go ahead and pull the caps off. What I try to do with my scopes on my competition guns, I'd like to put the eyepiece just about on the end of the charge handle here. I know with that position, it'll do anything I need it to do. I have a collapsible stock, so I can easily adjust what I'm seeing there through the scope. So I've got it set to about where I want. I'm going to take the rings again in the same orientation that I took them off and put them in position. So 18 inch-pounds, guys, is not a lot. It's not a lot. So we're going to go ahead. The whole idea about mounting the scope here is to have the same spacing, clearance spacing on the rings when you have some torque on them, so they're the same on both sides. So I'm trying to equalize the spacing here on the front ring, and I'm just going to do it on 2 screws right quick. That one there is about right, and about there. We're going to do the back ring right quick. Got it cinched up just a little bit. Let's take a reading on our level again here. This is why I had it on the handguard also. Now the receiver is covered, and I know I'm pretty good right there. Go to the top of the scope. You can see it's way off. And we'll bring it in between, just like we had before. All right, so there we have it. We're level. I'm going to leave the level there while I tighten up a couple of screws in the front. Make sure I have about the right spacing on the front screws. You alternate your torque there when you start to set the scope rings in. All right. What I really like about these bases, the scope hardly ever shifts once you start your tightening sequence. Saves you a lot of time. Put a little bit there, a little there. Grab a front ring, and it's looking like it's staying exactly between the lines there. It's going to be an easy mount. Okay, I have it set at 18 inch-pounds, and we're going to start the torque sequence here. I'm going to come to the back ring and ring. Not quite to 18. You're going to hear a click when we get to 18. There it is, guys. Hardly anything. Just a couple of fingers worth of torque, and that's 18 inch-pounds, not an 18-wheeler tire. Don't damage your new Strike Eagle. All right. And when I'm alternating the torque sequence here, so there's an 18, and you can see it's not much at all. So all the scopes you've mounted previously, you've had too much torque. You've been a sinner. All right. All right, here we go. 18 all the way across. Check them all one more time, and we're going to go to the base. So we're good to go. Stayed right on the mark. That's cool. Go ahead and bring it up to 40. And I'm going to alternate also the torque on the bases. Grab one in the front a little bit, go to the back one, back to the front, we'll set it. Now we're getting a little bit of torque going. All right, one more to go. And there we have it, 45 on the base. Take a look one more time. And it stayed between the lines, so we're good to go, guys. We got the 1x8 ready and set up. One thing you notice, guys, chamber flag. When you're working on a firearm, first thing you do, you check the chamber. I love chamber flags. There's no way I can have a live round in there and have a flag in it. So flags are your friend. So there you have it. We got the 1x8 set. It's ready to go sight in. Let's go have some fun. Okay, guys, I'm gonna do a rough sight in. So I'm about 10 yards from a target. I know if I fire this freshly mounted scope on this rifle, it's going to be on the berm, and that's one thing. Safety is paramount. You don't want a freshly mounted scope. Go out on a rifle range at 500 yards and start shooting. You don't know where the projectiles are going to land. So I know right here, no matter where this thing is set, it's going to hit that paper. So what I'm looking for, of course, you got to realize the height of the bore to the center of the scope, about 2.5 inches, and at 10 yards, that's about what I want to see, a gap about that much from the center of that white tape into where the bullet impacts. So what we're going to do is just take some ammunition, and at this distance, it really doesn't matter what you put in the rifle. It's going to be way close enough. Another thing you want to consider as a safety aspect, get the flag out, is that when you chamber around, safety on, is that you have it pointing at a berm. I wouldn't want to charge it like this and something malfunction and that round is gone. So you're responsible for everything that you do with the firearm. And if should something happen, it's going to be pointed toward the berm. All right, here we go, about 10 yards. Got it on 1 power. We're just going to shoot for the center of the tape right here. And take our time, press one out here. Oh, that's pretty nice. It's actually in line. Come on, we'll take a look at it. Well, it's almost exactly in line. So what I'm going to do, we're way too high. So we're going to come down. Click value is a 1/2 inch at 100. We're about 10. So let's just give it a little love and let's shoot another round. Okay, we're back at 10. Let's go ahead and shoot another one. See where we are. And from here I can see we're about a 1/2 inch. So we're going to go about that much more. Old school, guys. So I know right there I'm going to be on a target at 100, so I'm just going to go ahead and clear it out and flag it. Safety on, and we're going to go down to the 100-yard line and do a little shooting here. You notice when I came to the line, I had the scope caps off already. I know what I'm going to do here. Last thing I want to do is have a loaded gun and start fumbling with scope caps. So we got a rough sight in. Let's take it to 100. We finished our 10-yard sight in. We at 240 yards right now. We've got a C-zone piece of steel. It's a rifle-rated steel, so it's safe to shoot with this caliber. And what I have for ammunition, guys, is Hornady. It's their Frontier line 55 grain hollow point match. This is my go-to round up to about 300 yards. After that, I like to shoot a 75 grain bullet, but up to 300, it doesn't. Up to 300, this round is really spectacular. And after that, of course, it's a light bullet, so the 75 carries the wind better past 300. Anyway, so let's go ahead and crank it up here. Got some of the Hornady match in here. Let's go to a few more. Let's try that C-zone and see how rough our rough sight in is. All right, flag out. Safety on. All right, C-zone, hold it in the middle. Yeah, here we go. Let me do another one. Well, they're sure shooting good. Okay, guys, I made a little bit of correction on my scope here. I'm gonna go ahead and make a spot around and see if we're close to center here. All right, one in the middle. Oh, well, this thing's shooting really good, even with the wind blowing. I tell you what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go right for a headshot, put a couple of them in the head box there, and I think we've got it sighted. Here we go. Oh, yeah. Well, even with the wind blowing, it's shooting really good. So there you have it, guys. We had a rough sight in at 10 yards. We finished it up at about 250. I like what I see right here. I think I'm going to leave it there, and we're going to go to the second method of sighting in. The second method of sighting in a rifle like this or a bolt gun is to do like the old cannon shooters used to do, just look through the bore and center the target. We just sighted this in. We know it's hitting exactly where I want it, 250 yards, 240 yards. So what I'm going to do is just center the target here. You want to make sure your scope is straight up and down with the bore and not slanting one way or the other. I've got a good solid rest in the back. And let's go ahead and find that C-zone here. So what I've noticed from past experience when you do a bore sight like this is that what you're looking at right here is going to be actually about 6 inches lower to where the bullet strikes, and that seems to be common with most calibers. So when I'm looking through this and everything is sighted, that dot is actually about 6 inches lower than the actual point of impact on the target. So what you need to do, or what you should do, is if you have a gun that's already sighted, bring it out to the range, strip the upper like this, get a read on it, and then your rifle that you freshly mounted a scope, do the same thing and get a good read on it, and then adjust it in. You'd be surprised how close you can get, and it's a safe way to stay on the berm. So there you have it, guys. 2 ways to sight in, save ammunition, and also to be safe. Get some.